In this lesson's video, we're going to be adding and subtracting fractions. Our specific objectives are to figure out what's a common denominator, and how do we rewrite fractions with common denominators so then we can add or subtract them. So first, a common denominator is when you have two or more fractions and they have the same denominator. Okay, remember that's the bottom number in the fractions. If you're going to add or subtract fractions, you need to have a common denominator. How we actually go about finding a common denominator is we go ahead and find the least common multiple of the two denominators of the fractions. So let's go ahead and practice doing that. So we have two fractions, 3/8 and 5/6. And we want to rewrite them so each of them has the exact same denominator. So the steps are, first figure out what's the least common multiple of the denominators. So let's start there. So if I'm looking at the least common denominator, or least common multiple of them, I need to figure out what are the multiples of 8 and what are the multiples of 6. Quick trick is check first, does 6 go into 8? In this case, it does not. So I would go ahead then and start thinking about what are the multiples. So I list them. Well, obviously 6 is the first multiple of 6, so I'm going to go ahead and go 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 44, and I could keep going, of course. But I can stop as soon as I find one that they have in common. So second multiple of 8 after 8 is 16, and then 24, and boom, I'm done because I found the first one that they have in common, which is 24. So now I know that I need to rewrite each of these two fractions with a denominator of 24, because the least common multiple of 8 and 6 is 24. Okay, so let's get started. I've set it up, and now I'm thinking to myself, what did I have to multiply 8 by to get it to be 24? Well, 8 times 3 is 24. And whatever we do to the denominator, we're going to do to the numerator. 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, same thing with 6. What did we multiply 6 by to make 24? 4. Again, whatever you do to the denominator, do it to the numerator. 5 times 4, 20. So 5, 6 is the same as 20 over 24. Now, we know a little bit about rewriting the fractions with the common denominator. So let's go ahead and use that skill to add and subtract fractions. So it doesn't matter if we're adding or subtracting, we're going to follow these same steps. So first, we make sure that all the fractions have that common denominator. We rewrite them as needed. Maybe both, maybe just one. Then we only add or subtract the numerators. Okay? We don't touch the denominators as long as they're the same. Then we go ahead and write our sum or difference, whichever one we did, with that sum or difference over our common denominator. Last step always, simplify your answer. Okay, now let's go ahead and do some practice. So on this first one, my denominators are 4 and 3. So first I'm going to find the least common multiple of 4 and 3. So 3 doesn't go into 4, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 16, and I could keep listing, but I know from my multiplication tables that 4, 8, 12. So my least common multiple is 12. So now I'm ready to rewrite. So to make 3 4s into 12s, I know that I have to do 4 times 3 to make 12. So I'm going to do 3 times 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and make 2/3 into 12s. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 4 to get 12, so I have to do 2 times 4 to get my new numerator, which is 8. So the fractions that I'm going to add are 9/12 and 8/12. So now that I've rewritten them, I'm going to rewrite the problem with my common denominator. I keep the denominator, I add the numerators. 9 plus 8 is 17, and the denominator stays 12. Now, do 17 and 12 have a common factor other than 1? Well, since 17 is a prime number, I know that only 1 and 17 go into it, and 17 does definitely not go into 12. So this would be my answer. Okay, next one. 5/8 minus 1/4. So remember, always check to see if the lowest or the smallest denominator goes into the bigger one. And lo and behold, 4 goes into 8. So that just means we need both of them to have an 8 for our denominator. So what do I need to multiply 4 by to get it to an 8? I need to multiply it by 2. So I'm going to do the same thing to the numerator. So now I have 5/8 minus 2/8. I keep the denominator, and in this case it's subtraction, so I subtract the numerators. 5 take away 2 is 3, and I have 3/8. And since 3 and 8 have no common factors other than 1, 3/8 is my difference. Now this one over here has 3 terms. I have 7/12, 1/6, and 3/8. So if you have more than 2 fractions that you're adding or subtracting, you just can do them 2 at a time, or you could do them all at once. I find 2 at a time is the easiest. So first I'm going to find the difference of 7/12 and 1/6. So I check to see, does 6 go into 12? It does. 12 is my common denominator. So I'm going to keep 7/12, 7/12. And then 1/6 I need to rewrite with a 12. So 6 times 2 makes 12. 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 7/12 minus 2/12. Keep the denominator, subtract the numerators, and I have 5/12. So now I know that this is now 5/12 plus 3/8. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the least common denominator for 8 and 12. Okay, since 8 does not go into 12, because 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, I would go ahead and list 16, 24, and having done this before, we know that 24 is the least common multiple. So our denominators need to be 24. So now we're ready to go. Okay, so here's another little style I like. So 12 times 2 is 24. 5 times 2 is 10. 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 is 9. It's addition. So now I'm ready to add. Keep the denominator. Add the numerators only. 10 plus 9 is 19 over 24. 19 is a prime number. Therefore, it's not going to go into, or 24 cannot be divided by 19, and there's no other number they could have in common other than 1. So the answer to this problem is 19 over 24.